Turkish sources report that government troops continue to move southward, squeezing Haftar mercenaries from the suburbs of the Libyan capital Tripoli. Judging by the fact that they began to leave the corpses of Russian mercenaries on the battlefield, they depart quickly and hard. But this is the best they can do, because the positions in the city were advantageous only if they had a 10,000-strong group of troops on the left flank in the area of Al-Baytaya Air Base, and the front went to the sea, cutting Tripoli from Tunisia, and on the right flank was about the same grouping at the base of Targan. In this case, being a few kilometers from the center of the capital was extremely profitable, and this was certainly the main strike direction. But Al-Baytaya Air Base fell and government troops completely cleared the coast, regaining land access to the border of Tunisia and generally regained control of the border with Tunisia, which gave land communication with the neighboring, neutral country. Thus, the left flank of the central grouping collapsed and the wedge-shaped front line in the center ceased to be profitable. But here a few hours ago messages were sent from Tarhuna that columns of mercenaries were leaving from there. The Wagners left in a convoy of 40 cars and moved towards Bani Walid. This is an important point, as the photographs show that they drive openly and simply along the highway, which the Turks do not allow to do in principle. A large convoy looks like a death sentence, since Turkish drones will certainly gouge, if not the entire convoy, then most of it, without fail. Thus, a similar way out means that the Turks allowed everyone who wants to do this to leave Tarhuna, and we remember that they set the same ultimatum in Al-Wataya, but then the Wagner recklessly ignored this demand, which they later regretted. As a result, I had to leave anyway, but with a much smaller staff, both in technique and in people, since the Turks buried there from a third to a quarter of the personnel, and now the whole world knows what kind of bacchanal they arranged with the shells. Therefore, there is reason to believe that the Tarhans also put forward an ultimatum, and that the garrison would think better. They staged a demonstrative flogging with the same carapace, since it acts magically, and it immediately dawns on everyone, especially the Wagners, that the jokes have already ended. So far, this is unconfirmed, but rather dense information from sources that provide completely reliable and up-to-date information, which is then officially confirmed. But in this case, it turns out that the right flank of the strike force in the suburbs of Tripoli also fails, which means the wedge turns into a sack that the Turks can close at any time. True, the handwriting of the actions of the Turkish military has already been outlined. They avoid boilers, in the classical understanding of this phenomenon, with the destruction or capture of those around them. Instead, they squeeze them out and make them run. Mountains of corpses do not impress and excite them. That is, the Turks show an example of a completely civilized war, where excess corpses are not a matter of pride. They fulfill their tasks, and already the number of packed Wagners and shells is secondary. In general, if Tarhuna will also be occupied by government troops, then the Tripoli group must be very quickly removed as quickly as possible, as the Turkish military acts in a disciplined and clear manner. But there is no guarantee that everyone else will do the same and will not decide to arrange a massacre for the troops Haftar. Well, the process is underway, and it seems that the Russians simply have nothing to oppose to the method of warfare that the Turks show. Only thousands of tanks and planes with millions of soldiers and force meet knee-deep. But in another way they do not know how to fight.